Greetings shippers, welcome back, and it's time to take a little bit of a general fandom overview before we dive into a certain fandom ships. We're going to be taking a look at the Umbrella Academy. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please do follow on social media to stay up to date, know when we're streaming, and just come on over and chit chat about fandom. It's a good time, I swear. Also, if you missed it, last time we did a blast from the past and talked about 00Q, the pairing of Agent 007 and Q. So of course you can click the card or the link will be down below. Now, on to the Umbrella Academy. At the time of this recording in 2019, the Umbrella Academy adaptation has been released on Netflix. The Umbrella Academy was adapted from the 2007 comic of the same name. Slightly, we'll get into that. The Dark Horse comic series originally consisted of 6 issues, and was called the Umbrella Academy The Apocalypse Suite. It was written by Gerard Way, and yes, that is the same Gerard Way some of you are thinking of, My Chemical Romance. I know that some people thought it was a different Gerard Way, but no, it's the Gerard Way you're thinking of. And it was illustrated by Gabriel Ba. The adaptation takes several key points from the comic, but also changes a lot of things, and many fans feel that the changes have been for the best. And this flows both ways, both from fans of the comics who came to the series, and fans of the series who then turned around and went back to the comics. The comics are interesting though, and it is fascinating to see what was changed and what was kept. Personally, I hope at some point we get to see Diego and Vanya's band, because I need that in my life. On the whole, the series has been fairly well received and has reignited passion in the fandom. Yes, reignited, because the comics did have their own fan base and people writing fics and dealing in fanfare for it. And they still do, as there are certain elements that will remain unique to the comics. However, because of this, and also because of some of the things that occur in the source material, the fandom has a bit of a unique slant to it. One that some newer fans are having to work through, especially at the time of this recording. So, before we discuss any pairing specifically, we're going to talk about something that you are going to find if you enter into the Umbrella Academy fandom, and it's not for everyone, and that is pseudo-incest. Now, some people will just go in and call it full-on incest. However, as the characters are not actually related, others will refer to it as pseudo-incest, as they were raised together as adoptive siblings. Although some would argue that they were not actually raised as siblings, and rather as an attack squad or a team. So, why exactly is this such a common occurrence within the fandom? It goes far beyond these characters all being the protagonists and not really having too many other side characters to draw from, because there are other characters around. The source material itself engages in romantic interactions between these characters. There are actually more romantic interactions in the comics than were adapted and brought on screen. Case in point, Diego and Vanya. So as a result, you have a fan base who is coming from the comics already primed that this kind of fan activity is acceptable. It's the kind of thing that can be explored and worked through in this fandom. As a result, a lot of that has come over into this newer fandom. On top of that, you have the fact that this series itself has many markers of shippability in its visual format. Lots of little close moments, and the fact that the series itself is also doing the romantic pairing between Allison and Luther means that many fans felt more comfortable to explore this dynamic than they would have in some other fandoms. Although it has not stopped people in other fandoms either. Thorky is still alive and well. Now, whenever you're dealing with incest or pseudo-incest, you do have to expect that certain fans will have a squick factor or even a repulsion to it. This all depends on the amount of separation that the fan is partaking in when consuming the media. It will also have to do with their personal experiences, subject positionings, and backstories, but that does not necessarily preclude or guarantee a certain opinion. There are some who will look at the series or the comic and decide that, well, there is a separation there, that is fiction, and just because they want to explore those relationships in fan works there, it doesn't mean that in real life they would approve of a similar style of relationship, or that they have anything but respect for adoptive siblings. However, on the flip side, there are some who feel that to be exploring such concepts means that one does not respect that type of family, and that shipping culture can sometimes get out of control, and that not everything needs to have shipping in it, and that really shippers need to have couth, and that pseudo-incest exists in a unique space. For that, it must be noted that people have paired what are supposed to be actual siblings in fiction. For example, Wincest, which was the biggest pairing in Supernatural until Castiel came along. For many people, it's less about the taboo and more about the shippability, or the potential stories that can be worked through, and that taboo element adds another layer narratively that can then be worked into the story. Or not, or it can be entirely disregarded. Which tends to happen in a lot of Umbrella Academy fics. Because of all of this, tags have become extremely important in this fandom, and by looking through the tags, it is easy to see what kind of tone the person is taking. This is also a fandom where it is good to go to AO3 because of their exclude function, which means if there's something you really don't want to see, you can exclude it. So for example, if one is going through fics and they see that the person is not down for any kind of shipping between the siblings, then you can go through the tags to see how intensely they feel this. There is a big difference between someone who has a tag such as no incest in my Christian Minecraft server and someone who has the tag, adoptive siblings are still siblings. One connotes a more playful, understanding stance, but that is not for them. The other connotes a bit more of an angry stance. Though of course it could be lighthearted, but it is a tag that sounds like it should be read with a clapping emoji. On the other side, you will have tags such as pseudo-incest or incest, because it's the Umbrella Academy, for those who are very familiar with the fandom and what to expect inside of it. Others will utilize the fantastic tag Dead Dove Do Not Eat, which comes to the world from the Arrested Development fandom and a specific episode wherein Job leaves a dead dove in the fridge with a note that says Dead Dove Do Not Eat, and Michael opens it anyway, and then looks around disappointedly and says, I don't know what I was expecting. Essentially, it is a warning that it is exactly what it says on the tin. You know what's in there, they told you. Dead dove. Don't eat it. Now, while there are discussions going on as to whether it is right or wrong to ship the siblings, because of this fandom's history and the fact that the source material is going for it, it has become a fairly open fandom where this kind of material is accepted and expected, which for many has made it a more fun place to traverse in. It can occasionally occur that fandoms that are darker or dealing with more taboo or controversial subject matters can become the more open and accepting of fandoms because everyone in there is well aware that they are working through some controversial topics, and so to give each other space and a bit of leeway, and also to be able to laugh at themselves. It can be a place where fandom can express itself in its fullest extent, in the idea that everybody is just working through these concepts together from a variety of angles. Of course, this is not for everyone, but the fandom does also have a healthy gen community going on too, and people working through non-sibling pairings. When people are willing to accept each other and move beyond each other's squick factors, then all of the sides can coexist, and you have a great plethora of fics because of it for people who want to explore anything. And there are people who want to explore both, because for many, it's just about the type of stories that can be told, and they are interested in exploring all of the pseudo-incest and all of the gen fics, and they are excited to have such a wide variety. So if one gets into this fandom on the series side, what can they expect to see? Well, if you're looking for fics, you are going to find a lot with Klaus. Klaus has become the breakout character for this fandom, so pretty much most fics involve Klaus in some capacity or another. There is the concept that Klaus just needs to be better treated. It's not even all about pairings, it's just about love and hugs for Klaus. In the pairing sector, you will have Klaus and Dave, you will have Klaus and Diego, you will have Klaus and Ben, of course, and even Klaus and Five. There tends to be an OT3 going on between Klaus, Diego, and Ben, or Klaus, Five, and Ben. There's also a lot of aging up of Five in the fandom, or aging down of everybody because of events that happen inside the series. You will find a lot of fics dealing with Ben as well, and just his death and how everybody deals with it. Also for femme/lovers, there's a decent amount of Allison and Vanya. You will find Five and Vanya. You will find Diego and Detective Patch. Spoilers, magically resurrected. There's also a decent amount of Luther bashing, so if you really enjoy Luther as a character, go through those tags, because people will tell you if they don't like Luther, it's in the tags. So because of that, you don't have quite as much Luther and Allison as some may have been expecting, but also because that is more explored within the source material, which can sometimes coincide with a pairing being less explored in fandom. You will also have one of my favorite tags ever, which is the A+ parenting tag. Sir Reginald Hargreaves is A+ parenting, which for those who are not aware of this tag means that the parenting is terrible. It is atrocious. It is a sarcastic tag. It is not an A+, it is an F+. So with this, Sir Reginald Hargreaves joins the ranks of Odin and Howard Stark, who also have their own A+ parenting tags. At the time of this recording, this fandom is really booming. People took to this series, and another thing that you can see is a crossing over of the different continuities, that being the comics and the series. People pulling stuff from the comics that they would love to see in the series, or mixing those backstories and writing their own fics or drawing their own art where some of those aspects are incorporated. There are also more comic volumes than just the one released in 2007. In fact, there is one ongoing at the time of this recording. So there is much more material that could be drawn from for a potential second season, which many fans are hoping for. The television adaptation just dives a lot more into the pathos and the thought process of all of the students. It makes things feel like there's a lot more emotional stakes, which is not to say the comics have no stakes, because they definitely do, but the focus is definitely ramped up in the series, while also pulling some of the best ludicrous moments from the comics and leaving some of the too extravagant and outlandish ones there. The Eiffel Tower. This fandom also, of course, has a lot of fix-its, and is currently a place where new fics are being posted every day, and fics are being updated every day, and it's an exciting time. The discourse surrounding everything that we discussed earlier surrounding the siblings tends to keep itself more to the Tumblr side, and is not as vitriolic as some past discussions have been. Relatively speaking, of course. For some, they may have found themselves caught in quite toxic discussions, and others may not have seen them at all. Again, to reiterate, because the fandom was already pretty much established, with the core concept that this was just a part of it. Dead dove, do not eat. So it is an intriguing fandom to look at, and there is a lot going on, and people will let you know exactly what they're working with. So if something's not for you, then hopefully one of the other fics will be. On the whole though, it is a very fun and welcoming fandom, which is nice, and it's partially why so many people are gravitating towards it. It also has a decent amount of fan activity happening in all quarters. There's also a budding theory community, and of course you have your cosplayers and your fan vid makers and just everybody. Fandom fundum. So I want you to let me know if there is a pairing you want to discuss from the Umbrella Academy. What is it and why? And tell me down below. Thank you so much for taking some time to just sit and discuss a little bit of a fandom overview of what to expect in the Umbrella Academy. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. We will talk about anything and everything here. No squick is too squick. I am trying to bring that word back. Squick was a great fandom word. I will see you all again when I can, and until then, let's get to the outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side, for helping to make these videos possible. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so until then, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.